Today we will be discussing about the India's farmers' protests that took place in 2020 to 2021. Before we begin, please like and subscribe to our channel. The three Farm Acts that were passed by the Indian Parliament in September 2020 were the target of the 2020 to 2021 Indian farmers' protest. They were demonstrating against the government's introduction of three laws that loosened restrictions on the purchase, valuation, and storage of farm products, restrictions that had previously shielded them from the free market. After 9 people were killed in a deadly escalation of a year-long demonstration against contentious agriculture laws, Indian authorities suspended internet services and forbade political leaders from entering a northern town in an effort to defuse the situation. Many farmer unions and politicians from the opposition have referred to the acts, also known as the Farm Bills, as anti-farmer laws because they claim they would abandon farmers to the mercy of corporations. A minimum support price (MSP) bill has also been requested by farmers in order to prevent corporate price control. However, the union government insists that the laws will make it simple for farmers to sell their produce directly to large consumers and claims that the protests are based on false information. Farmer suicides and low farm incomes are related endemic legacy problems. Even though India produces a large amount of its own food grains and has welfare programs, hunger and malnutrition are still major problems, and India is one of the least secure nations in the world in terms of food security. Unions started staging local protests, primarily in Punjab, shortly after the acts were introduced. Following 2 months of demonstrations, farmer unions, primarily from Punjab and Haryana, launched the Let's Go to Delhi movement, in which tens of thousands of union members marched towards the capital. To stop the farmer unions from entering Haryana first and then Delhi, the Indian government ordered the police and law enforcement of various states to attack the protesters using water cannons, batons, and tear gas. A nationwide general strike in support of the farmers took place in November 2020, with thousands assembling at various border crossing points on their way to Delhi. Between October 14, 2020 and January 22, 2021, there were 11 rounds of negotiations between the central government and the farmers represented by the farm unions. All of them ended in failure, with only 2 relatively minor issues being agreed upon. The Indian government asserts that some unions have come out in support of the farm laws even though some farmer unions have been protesting. By the middle of December, several petitions requesting the removal of protester-erected blockades in the area of Delhi had been filed with the Supreme Court of India. Farmers have stated that if the courts tell them to back off, they will not listen. Additionally, their leaders have stated that delaying the application of the farm laws is not a viable option. In January 2021, the Indian Supreme Court issued a stay preventing the farm laws from going into effect. Leaders of the farming industry praised the order's continued effectiveness. On March 19, 2021, a committee appointed by the Supreme Court presented the court with its private report. Kerala, Punjab, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, Delhi, and West Bengal are the 6 state governments that have passed resolutions opposing the Farms Acts. Punjab, Chhattisgarh, and Rajasthan are the 3 states that have introduced counter-legislation in their respective state assemblies. None of the counter-legislation was approved by the governors of the respective states. On January 26, 2021, India's Republic Day, tens of thousands of farmers held a farmers' parade and traveled into Delhi in a large tractor convoy. Violence and clashes with the police resulted from the protesters deviating from the pre-approved routes that the Delhi police had authorized. Later, protesters arrived at the Red Fort and raised religious and farmer union flags on the fort's mast. The Farm Laws Repeal Bill 2021 was approved by both houses of Parliament on November 29, 2021, after the Union government made the decision to repeal the laws on November 19. Farmers' unions continued to call for guaranteed minimum support prices after the Farm Laws repeal was announced, reminding the government of its goal of doubling farmers' income by 2022, as well as the 2004 National Commission on Farmers reports. On March 21, 2022, a committee member released the report of the Supreme Court-appointed committee. The farmer protests have been largely peaceful, but clashes in January resulted in one protester's death and hundreds of injuries after protesters stormed a significant Delhi fort through police barricades. More than a dozen rounds of negotiations between the government and the farmers have failed to find a solution, and thousands of farmers have been camped out on the outskirts of New Delhi for nearly a year. That's all for today's video. Let us know your thoughts on the farmers' protests. And make sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more future updates.